creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
There's nothing new under the sun. The wisest man to ever live, Solomon, said that. There's nothing new under the sun. So we're not battling any new fallen angels. We're not battling any new demons. There's no new demons being made. There's no new angels being made. So what we're fighting has always existed. So when you go back in scripture and you go all the way back to the very beginning, when you go back to the serpent, when you start studying what really happened in that garden, that I believe have, and this is the gospel according to Larry is what I call it, my opinion. Think about what Daniel said. Daniel's writing, he's seeing a vision and he's writing about the final generation. He's writing about things that are going to happen during the tribulation period, about the Antichrist and all this. And all of a sudden God says, stop, seal it up, till the days that knowledge shall increase and men shall run to and fro. In other words, he made it very clear there will be a generation that will see what you just saw. If you think about that, they're going to see what you just saw. Can you imagine Daniel saw something? He saw us. He saw what we're talking about right now. And God said, you got to take that to your grave. Jeez. You got to take that to your grave. So this man couldn't talk about it again. Seal it up. Don't talk about it. It wasn't for you. But I wanted you to see it because you're my man. And I needed, because God is very intentional in scripture, I needed to record me telling you to stop writing, because there's going to be a generation that's going to see this. And I'm going to open that. And there's going to be a generation who's going to see things hidden in plain sight. That's always been there, but God has purposely blinded every generation because it wouldn't make sense to those generations. I mean, why would it make sense for somebody growing up in the 1950s to all of a sudden get a divine revelation of AI? It wouldn't make any sense because they couldn't process that. God uses the natural to teach the spiritual. So they couldn't look at AI and say, yeah, that makes sense that could be used in the image of the beast. Yeah, CBDCs. Digital money. You can't buy or trade unless you have, it makes sense to this generation. It wouldn't make sense to any other generation. Although we've always had that in scripture, there's only going to be one generation that's going to understand it. That's where you're going. People are starting to put two and two together, and they're starting to see UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, Nephilim, earthquakes, pestilence, wars, all these things. What is going on? And people that are really trying to see the truth are finding that there is an underlying cause. One enemy.
We are that generation that David foresee, folks. And more people everywhere are finally witnessing, learning about, actual reality and more.
The Anunnaki were the ones who did all this work 275,000 years ago. The pyramid is close to Mount Denali, deep underground. It's huge. It's bigger than the Giza pyramids. It can only be accessed through different shafts or tunnels. Army personnel use the space on a regular basis. So I could see people like moving around. I saw vehicles. When I remote view the place, I saw vehicles driving around the pyramid. And it's a massive conductor. And I was wondering, what's the main purpose of this structure? And the function of those pyramids is they can send out a beam of energy into space, not on Earth, into space, that can be refueling those crafts that won't even be seen by our current satellites. And so they regenerate their crafts from those energy beams on Earth. So they obviously generate that energy from the pyramid, and how they can send a signal up. Now, what we talk about, what has never been asked, is that the motherships was used by the Anunnaki. So why are they using it for today? That same energy is used today for motherships, but they're not Anunnaki anymore. To do with the SSP.
Are the great pyramids of the world and Nephilim connected? I think so.
Bring this every country I go to, everywhere I go.
So this thing basically detects if there's anything listening or gathering information on you.
Just think of it as a way to determine if your phone's being tracked. See that green line at the top there?
Yeah.
So that means that there are no stingrays within proximity to us, which is how the feds or certain people can track your phone's location. I can take this, I can use my phone. Oh, actually, what the heck? I actually have a warning here.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Look at this. There's a red warning. Seriously, I didn't set this up. I really didn't. I swear to God. But it just lets me know that there's a device within proximity. That's my first time ever.
Basically detects if there's anything listening or gathering information on you.
Just think of it as a way to determine if your phone's being tracked. See that green line at the top there?
Yeah.
So that means that there are no stingrays within proximity to us, which is how the feds or certain people can track your phone's location. I can take this, I can use my phone. Oh, actually, what the heck? I actually have a warning here.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Look at this. There's a red warning. Seriously, I didn't set this up. I really didn't. I swear to God.
Well, how do you know what it is?
I'll download it and try to see, but it just lets me know there's a device within proximity. That's my first time ever seeing a warning.
You know, the more he informs us, the more I'm concerned for his safety. They were closer than us to predicting the future. This is amazing. Wow. Doesn't matter how she looks, she is still beautiful.
Are you familiar with there being any bases that our government or the cabal might have that would be under the ocean?
Yes.
And how would that work based on what you know? How would you build a base at the bottom of the ocean, let's say?
Well, there's bases that were already there that they took over that have been here for millions of years that were already functional, and they found these bases in different parts and different areas. And most of the bases, so are not just like bubbles on the bottom of an ocean. They're actually under the ocean's crust.
Right.
So that's how they really bore in there, and they build it from underneath up. They don't go down from the surface of the ocean with a bunch of 2x4s and steel parts. It's a very complex, a very advanced way to make an underground sea lab. Sea labs exist all over the world.
That's what it's called, a sea lab?
Sea labs,
Okay.
yeah, are all over the all over the world. Very small. You might see a small one on the bottom of the ocean, you know, but underneath that is really where the base is. It's underneath and the crust of the bottom of the ocean and the rock.
So by digging down first and then working from the bottom up, does
Correct.
that prevent against erosion and cataclysms and that kind of thing?
I think it's probably the safest way to do it without being noticed.
Right.
You know, it's a secrecy thing. You know, after what happened many years ago with the Taos hums, they were worried that people were catching on with what they were doing with this, you know, making these tunnels, but now they're using a different type of technique. You know, of course, as you know, they make big lava tubes and melt rock, and you know, they don't use the old-fashioned drills. You see these pictures of these ancient drill bits that are like 150 feet in diameter, and you know, that's old school.
Some skeptics might say that we barely even have the ability to get any submarine that far down. You know, the pressure would crush any type of technology. So how have they overcome those limitations of the pressure?
Oh, no, they don't use submarines. That use, you know, our own alien reproduction vehicles. We form our own gravitational force. So we're inside our own gravity field. So we cannot get crushed. I mean, we form, you know, that's why you can go to space, and that's why you see some of these UFOs and these other ones just go right into the water that you keep going, because they're in their own environment of their own gravity. So it'd be easy for that to, you know, for them to transport people or equipment or whatnot. But they always have a direct link to these tunnels, is what it's all about. And there's many tunnels all around the world.
And there's enough pressure that they can generate enough gravity that they can easily counteract the pressure of the ocean?
Oh, absolutely. Plus, they can transdimensionally change the size of themselves.
Like, how would that work?
Well, they kind of like dematerialize, but you're still there, but you're just out of this frequency just a hair, so you're not really you don't fall under the laws of the science.
Extraordinary claims must be backed up by extraordinary evidence. Man, that is creepy. Oh gosh. 70 people? He looks psycho, though.
Look at the oldest civilizations who ruled the universe, and none of them start with a single god. They start with something before him. The Sumerians spoke of a dark, endless sea, a realm older than their gods. Egyptians wrote of a formless void where even the sun god had to claw his way into existence. In ancient India, the Rig Veda whispers of a time when not even nothing existed, and early Hebrew texts hint at chaos waters that predate creation itself, a world God had to tame, not invent. Across the planet, the pattern is the same. Before the divine, there was something else, a silence, a darkness, a force with no name. So the real question isn't, who made God? It's this: if every ancient culture remembered something older than their creator, then whatever stood before God didn't disappear. It's simply waiting in the part of creation we still haven't dared to look at.
God exists before creation. What are you talking about?
What is the predominant theory of what they are?
The predominant theory is that they is multiple species, and there's no one answer. Everyone I talk to who has real visibility to the crash retrieval program says the non-human bodies that have been recovered in some of these crafts all look different. There are multiple species. The universe is full of life.
How many different species?
I've heard of at least 4.
What is your take on those tridactyl mummy? Did you see Jesse Michaels' episode on it?
Not all of it. I've seen some of it. Yes.
The scans. You see the scans.
I've seen the scan.
That's a CT scan. Yeah, there's no way. You can't fake that. I mean, I don't need to be a forensics expert to say that if that's a real image, there's no way that that's fake.
But Jesse said that seeing them in person, I just talked to him about it. He said it was otherworldly. He said it was incredibly strange, like very, very surreal seeing them in person.
That's like the realest. Oh my God.
My take on that stuff is, honestly, it's like, sure.
My take on that stuff is sure.
Everything they teach you in school is a lie. You want the truth? The world is controlled by shadowy elites and shape-shifting lizard people.
It's the most natural smile I've ever seen out of Mark Zuckerberg.
The song Shake It Off was about how I shed my skin every 1,000 years. And the song Bad Blood was about how I drink blood out of my grandma's.
A toast to blood.
Save some blood for Paul Rudd.
Let's get down to business. We reptoids have had a great decade. Thanks to propaganda in the media, we have made society more tolerant of our kind, from the Geico Gecko to the Shape of Water. We even got K-Rool in Smash. We did it, everyone. The world temperature is rising. The time is coming, brethren. Soon we shall fulfill the prophecy, overthrow humanity, and become the true rulers of the world.
They say that every year, but they're never going to do it.
For those wondering, the show is called Inside Job. It was on Netflix at some point. Not sure if it's still there though.
Saw one of the top guys at the Israeli Cyber Command caught luring in kids to have within a hotel room. Did we prosecute that individual? No. We packaged him up and sent his happy back to Israel. No consequences whatsoever. What the is going on? Why are we packaging this guy up and handed him back to Netanyahu? Here you go. Here's your take care of him. We don't want him to get hurt. What is that? Where's the justice for the kids, man?
Right.
What the is going on in our country, man?
Yeah.
Hidden truths behind everyday nursery rhymes. The Muffin Man. In Victorian London, bakers known as Muffin Men walked the streets selling baked goods to families. In a place called Drury Lane in London, there was a serial killer named Frederick Linwood who used muffins to lure children down alleyways and murder them. What sounds like a cheerful nursery rhyme for kids is actually a dark story hiding behind a tasty treat. And just like that, the Muffin Man became infamous. Jack and Jill. This wasn't actually about two kids fetching water. Historians link it to the French Revolution when Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were executed. Jack broke his crown, meaning he was beheaded, and Jill came tumbling after, meaning she was executed shortly after. This really is a twisted nursery rhyme in disguise. Barbar Black Sheep. This one dates back to the 13th century, where wool tax was introduced by King Edward I against farmers. The 3 bags full went to the king, the church, and the nobility, leaving none for the poor farmer's child. It wasn't sung about sheep, but about heavy taxes on the poor.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I was taken by beings who self-identified as Saurian. Their ancestry came from something what we would describe as reptiles. I think that they had an interest in my development. If there's any kind of intervention physically, it would have occurred in the story I told about being a young child and being taken to that Victorian house and being medically examined. And so the hybridization is not necessarily changing our appearance, but more like expanding our consciousness and expanding human potential to be all that we can be. And the agencies are CIA in particular. And I believe that they are looking at human origins through the examination of alien DNA and the discovery that some of that alien DNA is inhuman, that they want to know the origin of that, and that certain humans seem to have enhanced DNA. And we know that certain families have this enhanced DNA, not just regular human DNA, but enhanced DNA. How far back does it go?
Did you hear about that?
Why are reptilian ETs so popular in the UFO community?
2 statues that were discovered last week in Antarctica. I mean, look at these guys. They are massive. Look how long that is. It's just humongous. They were discovered by 3 friend enthusiasts who are kayakers.
There's a Nazi symbol. Is it?
They heard about how all the snow capsules are melting in Antarctica, and it opened up a new river, and they wanted to be the first to kayak down it. You can see how big that foot is next to their kayaks. And they said as they were going down the river, these 2 statues came into view, and they must have been covered for centuries under the snow. Luckily, one of them, Chris Smith, was a drone operator. He used to fly drones as a hobby in Afghanistan. So he whipped out his drone and got these close-ups to send to the scientific community. And scientists are saying, who built these? The ancient Romans, an ancient civilization? The crazy thing is when the friends got past the statue, they said what they saw, they're too terrified to speak of. They can't even get out of them. So Dr. Remy Demi went down there, and you won't believe what he's saying is behind these statues. I'll post it in part 2.
I don't think that's the statue, folks.
Witchcraft.
Mormon, huh?
Bohemian Grove.
Every July, some of the most powerful men in America retreat to a redwood forest in California. There's no media, no press access, and zero transparency. The highlight is a bizarre ritual called the cremation of care, performed in front of a 40-foot owl statue. Some say it's just a tradition. Others think it's a place where real-world decisions are made behind closed doors. Either way, nobody gets in unless you're on the list. The Knights Templar. Originally a group of warrior monks formed to protect pilgrims during the Crusades, but they quickly became Europe's most powerful banking network, rich enough to rival kings. Then, in 1307, they were suddenly arrested, tortured, and disbanded by the French crown, officially wiped out. But some believe the Templars didn't vanish. They just changed names, went underground, and continued shaping global finance for centuries in secret. Freemason.
The owl statue is, what is it? Moloch.
Hier loben wir euch treu. So habe ich in diesem Stadtsoldaten Menschen gesehen, den Königsberg in Ostpreußen, genauso in Sachsen, genauso in Berlin, genauso in Hamburg, genauso in Köln, genauso in Frankfurt, genauso in Stuttgart, genauso in München, im ganzen Deutschen Reich ist es nicht anders.
Wow.
Der Herrgott hat die Völker geschaffen. Was aber Gott eingefallen wird, die anderen nennen
This is crazy.
Known as the most brutally murdered girl in archaeological history. At just 16, her body was found with 18 weapons still lodged inside, some nailed deep into her bones. She suffered 36 arrow wounds, her right forearm twisted into an X shape, left hand severed, left leg shattered, fibula displaced over 10 centimeters, and right leg completely deformed. What kind of hatred could drive someone to commit such brutality against a teenage girl? She lived 7,000 years ago during the Neolithic Age. Experts reconstructed her face, revealing a look considered beautiful in her time. Though she died from extreme torture, she was given a formal individual burial. This suggests her killers were not the ones who buried her. Most likely, she was of noble status, captured in a tribal war, tortured to death by enemies, and her mutilated body sent back as a warning to her people.
She looks really tall, and she's probably stunned by an elephant after that.
The Japanese and the Germans had no idea that America was populated with dudes from coal mines in West Virginia that were like, yeah, I shot the prisoners. I done it.
Yeah, it was just dudes.
It was cruel, but I done it.
They just took orders their whole lives. They're like, go pick those weeds, boy. And they go out there and pick the weeds. And like, you're going to go fight those Japanese.
He's like, all right.
All right.
All right. He's like, yeah, it rained for a month. I didn't like it. What could I do? So I shot them.
Dude, those dudes were so strong, too.
Yeah.
What was it, 1940s farm boys?
Yeah.
They're the strongest.
Dude, literally a guy from a coal. His dad was in World War I, came back and worked in a coal mine for 50 years. And he was like, I want to be like my dad. And he just went to the coal mine, started working. And they pulled him out when he was 18 to go in World War II.
Imagine being a Japanese 19-year-old getting strangled to death by one of those guys. Just having the coal miner's hands around your neck. Like, yeah, now you better hold still there.
Yep. Come here now.
Come on now.
Now you were shooting at my buddies, so now you're dead.
For some of those guys, the war was a vacation.
If you can see the whole demonic realm, number one, they're all a bunch of sniveling lawyers. I promise you they are. They're all about what is legal and what they can get away with. They're all a bunch of lawyers. Yeah. The second thing is this too. Yeah, they move in some really dark things, and there's some really scary, really blurry, undefined things that I don't know how to put my finger on it. But Jesus is very defined to me.
Amen.
He's superior. I got great news. I know exactly how this is going to end. Jesus is going to come back, and he's not coming back as a hippie. And he's going to take names to a degree that most Western Christians will cringe because they think that Jesus Christ is a hippie, and he's not. He is the baddest motor scooter in the entire swinging universe. There's nobody like him. And when he comes back, his earmark will be to the horse's brow.
Right? Crazy calling them lawyers, but it's so true.
Right now, Israel, the Zionists, CIA, and Saudi Arabia are the three devils that need to be put back in a very small box. So we're essentially looking at the U.S. deep state wants a war with North Korea and a war in the Middle East and a war with China over the Spratly Islands. Goldman Sachs desperately needs a war in the Middle East to drive the price of oil up, or they're going to lose billions and billions of dollars on their bad bets. ISIS was created with money from Saudi Arabia, trading from CIA, and weapons from the Pentagon. ISIS is a wholly owned subsidiary of the U.S. deep state. So from the end of World War II, the United States of America has institutionalized evil, and the U.S. government has been a wholly controlled subsidiary of Wall Street. Now, Congress is not only bribed, it's also being blackmailed. NSA has been blackmailing, spying on and blackmailing U.S. politicians and judges for the last 10 years.
Wow.
They were known to the Egyptians as the Nine Bows, but history remembers them as the Sea Peoples, a storm of tribes that appeared out of the Mediterranean like a moving nation. Among them were the Shurdan, the Shekelesh, the Denyen, the Tieker, and the most famous of all, the Peliset, the group many scholars believe later became the Philistines. No one knows exactly where they came from. Maybe the Aegean, maybe Anatolia, maybe a mix of collapsing kingdoms. But one thing was clear: they weren't raiders. They were entire populations migrating with wagons, families, warriors, and ships after the Bronze Age world began to fall apart. And in the 12th century BC, their wave crashed into the last great wall standing between order and chaos: Egypt. Rameses III watched his empire's borders shake. Cities in the Levant fell. Trade routes died. The Sea Peoples burned everything in their path until they reached the Nile Delta. There, Rameses prepared a trap. He blocked the river mouths with wooden barriers, filled the banks with archers, and waited for their ships to sail in. The moment they entered, the sky turned black with arrows. Egyptian warboats smashed into them from the sides, while infantry stormed the shores. The Sea Peoples had fought kings before, but never a king prepared for a naval war inside his own river. By the end of the battle, the delta was silent. Egypt survived, but the Sea Peoples did not vanish. Some were destroyed. Others, like the Peliset, settled in southern Canaan and shaped the history of the region for centuries.
Maybe you would know if the Great Library wasn't burned to the ground.
It's very, very extremely powerful secret society in England called the Order of the Garter. Many people think it's like a woman's garter. No, it was the guards who guarded the powers in England. They guard the powers. They are like a mafia, underworld organization. International Maritime Admiralty law, the law of international banks, is based on Vatican canon law. This is why the Vatican has a Swiss guard. The Swiss guard the Pope. Why? Because it's symbolic. The Switzerland, which is the home of international banking, is guarding the Pope because he's the boss of all bosses. Mafia bows before the Pope. International drug traders bow before the Pope. The Pope is probably one of the most fierce, diabolical people the world has ever known. The Vatican is a symbol of world criminal, world empire. And if the Protestants think that they have protested against Rome and gotten something cleaner and better, you've got another thing coming, because 99% of Protestantism came directly out of the Vatican Catholic Church, and neither one of them are worth a damn before God.
In top of masonry.
2000, this rock came into my life, and there's a cast of it on my table over there. It's called the Kensington Runestone. I was asked to perform a forensic study on it, and I never heard of it. I didn't know what it was. And then, oh my God, the blowback I got was incredible. And it was nasty. It was personal. And I'm like, the hell? What happened was I inadvertently had tread on a sacred paradigm that you do not touch. And I touched it. Why is everybody so upset about it? Why are the scholars saying it's a fake, yet they have no evidence to support that? And I got a mountain of evidence to say it's real. So that led me on this 25-year-long journey, and here I am talking about Jesus. Jesus. But there's something on the runestone that the scholars did not understand. And it's this symbol right here called the hooked X. And And unfortunately, they just did not have the capability and the integrity to say three little words. I don't know.
The weirdest beliefs of Nazi leaders. Wait until you hear Himmler's obsession. First, Hitler himself believed he had been chosen by destiny. He was fascinated by astrology and often planned events around lucky dates and symbols. Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda chief, believed in using occult signs and even magical thinking to control the German people through mass rallies and symbols. Goering, head of the Luftwaffe, carried lucky charms and thought certain ancient relics could bring him protection in battle. But the strangest obsession belonged to Heinrich Himmler. He was convinced the Aryan race came from mystical ancestors and spent millions funding expeditions to places like Tibet, searching for proof of a lost super race. He even tried to redesign the SS headquarters as a kind of pagan temple, mixing Nazi power with ancient myths.
Before you see like the earliest pictures of like places like San Francisco, in 1870, there's a panoramic shot where it shows the whole city and it's just laid out completely. There's not one bit of construction happening. They got old world cathedrals, Greco-Roman architecture. And this city was supposedly not even discovered by the Spanish until 1776. In 1848, it only had 1,000 people. So then the famous story about the 49ers going over there searching for gold, this is when this city starts to boom. But the timeline is still, I mean, it's so short to think that they could go from miners and early settlers to a full-grown city like we know today. It seems impossible.
China's navy is astronomically bigger than what we have now. I mean, they're building like a new aircraft carrier every year. We can't do that.
In the past X number of years, 10, 12, 15, the Pentagon has a perfect record in all of its war games against China. We lose every time. China's building an army specifically dedicated to defeating the United States of America. That is their strategic outset. Take hypersonic missiles. Our whole power projection platform is aircraft carriers and the ability to project power that way strategically around the globe. And yeah, we have a nuclear triad and all of that, but a big part of it. And if 15 hypersonic missiles can take out our 10 aircraft carriers in the first 20 minutes of a conflict, what does that look like? If they've already got us by the balls economically with our grid, microchips and everything, why do they want Taiwan? They want to corner the market completely on the technological future. Can't even drive our cars without the stuff we need out of China these days. They have a full spectrum, long-term view of not just regional, but global domination. We have our heads up our ass.
Gentle reminder, the United States owe China $37 trillion.
One of the most famous Nazis, his name was Otto Skorzeny. He was Hitler's favorite commando fighter. He was the guy who rescued Mussolini from the top of the mountain and brought him to Hitler. He smuggled to South America all the notorious Nazis that we heard about. It's Eichmann, it's Mengele, it's Walter Rauff, it's Barbie. He smuggled them. And after the war, he was imprisoned in Dachau by the Allies, and he made his way out by disguising as an American officer and simply with a jeep drove out of the Dachau and fled to Spain, and he lived there.
Wow, look at the face. Smart guy.
In a very, very, I would say, wealthy neighborhood, wealthy life. And one day, the Mossad approached him, and he's sure the Mossad is coming to kill him, but they say, no, we don't want to kill you. We want to recruit you.
Wow. The Mossad always knows what it's doing.
The Mossad perfected the art of blackmailing people. They've also perfected the art of industrial electronic espionage. Everybody snoops, but the Israelis actually are running the electronic systems for the U.S. government. But what I have found in the United States is that all of our politicians are groomed. You don't get to be president unless you're bought and paid for. Now, I've also learned that CIA, FBI, and NSA have been spying on and blackmailing all of our politicians. Veterans understand that war is for bankers, war is waste, and we should not be going to war in America. We need to close all 1,000 of our bases overseas and bring our troops home. One element of the deep state I didn't mention before was the secret intelligence community. Those are the people who are smuggling guns, gold, drugs, cash, and small children as part of the totality of the deep state shadow government enterprise.
I don't know how you explain that. So this is at Karnak.
This is one of several of statues of this size at Karnak. What's cool about this is that it's a straight arm. So a lot of those statues, like the one at the Ramesseum, they're seated, so they always have their elbows bent at their knees. This thing was standing. So it was a standing statue, 1,000 tons, made from composite quartzite, which is in a lot of ways more difficult to work than granite. It's a stone carver's nightmare. It's like you can see the chunks of flint in the stone, but they somehow worked that surface just with no problem going over flint, which is 7.5 on the Mohs scale. And what's impressive about this, they put this together for 1 year and then they took it apart and I got told that it was because people were freaking out about how big this must have been. It gives a sense of scale, but you can still see the thumb there today, so it's turned on its side. Now, the trick with this statue is where that stone came from. So they had to take the block for that thing, I'd say 1,500 tons easy. They had to bring that upriver 600 miles or something, 500 miles.
Wow. Egyptian ancient civilization was incredible.
We know that they did some enhancements to the pyramid, like they refurbished some things.
Exactly.
And so that's the problem. Is like, would you refurbished what, and how long was it there before you refurbished it?
Indeed. I don't discount the carbon dating. I think what you can say from the carbon dating, it shows that these pyramids were being worked on. I don't think you can make the jump to say this is when they were built. You have to infer and say that I think this is when they were certainly being worked on in that period. So I think it's possible that dynastic Egyptians could have finished the pyramids. They may not have been entirely pyramids originally. I think there's a strong chance that there were multiple phases of construction over a long time for them to end up being what they are in our time. I think those are all possibilities here, because this is the whole, when you take a step back and look at the whole picture of ancient Egypt, I mean, just you cannot attribute everything that we see in ancient Egypt to our current understanding of those dynastic Egyptians, their capabilities, their tools, their writings, and what we know about them. We know an awful lot. The vases are probably the best example. They're a smoking gun example of it.
Here's a 3D printed one.
Yeah, so these are the smoking gun because they connect to everything else, and we're learning so much about the precision of these things. However, but we could start with statues or boxes or columns. It doesn't really matter. There are two categories across all of these artifacts. And yeah, you can imagine without the handles, you could lathe it if you're spinning it, but if you had the handles, if you wanted these handles, you would have to leave a bullnose that runs all the way around it and then come back with a different process, a different tool to remove that space, this basically the space between the handles off the body. The only way you can do that is is with a tool with 5 axes of freedom. So now you're talking about a 5-axis CNC mill, like one of those computer controlled things that can just cut it out in basically one pass, but without changing tools and process.
With incredibly hard stone.
And that's the other challenge with this stuff, and there's some samples of the stone there in front of you from vessels.
Is the actual stone?
These are actual pieces from vessels. Yeah, they got a private collector.
You just gotta think, like, who made this and how old is this? How old is
this piece? At least 5,000-6,000 years. I think it potentially quite older, and we can get into how old I think. So that's the other challenge that is rarely talked about, is the material.
Before people jump on that notion, I will jump to the myth of Adapa. And the myth of Adapa, can you pull up the myth of Adapa really quick? ADAPA? I would love you to see it for yourself.
And didn't the Anunnaki start like mating with the Ajiji?
What is Ajiji?
They may have had some interaction with. No, not the actual text. Then it's a period, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead, because the world needs to hear this.
Tablet number 1, Myth of Adapa. He possessed intelligence. Okay, Steve, what are you doing? All right. His command, like the command of Anu. He, Ea, granted him a wide ear to reveal the destiny of the land. He granted him wisdom, but he did not grant him eternal life. In those days, in those years, the wise man of Eridu, Ea, had created him as the chief among men, a wise man whose command none should oppose. The prudent, the most wise among the Anunnaki was he.
Okay, so you can stop right there. It's telling us about the figure that became known as Adam. His original name was Adapa. This tablet is the oldest single written record in human history, period. The myth of Adapa is considered the first Sumerian tablet that's ever been recorded in terms of for its age. It's one of the oldest tablets ever written to mankind. And it tells us profound things.
This is the oldest written document in history.
Yes. The myth of Adapa. It's the very beginning of everything. Now, what's really interesting here are a couple things. Number one, Did you see that he says he was been created as chief among men?
Right.
That he's basically perfect. Remember, like the description of Adam?
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is the line that really brings it home, though. The most wise among the Anunnaki.
The most wise among the Anunnaki was he.
So what it's saying is that the first man, the first perfect man, named Adapa, the first great sage from a city called Eridu, the first city ever created, that he's considered the most wise among the Anunnaki. So what does that mean for us? We are the Anunnaki. We are them. We just don't remember anything, and we don't have any of the gifts anymore. They're trying to tell us that we started in a place where not only was he the most wise, but it's described even further. If you go to the Nag Hammadi scriptures, the secret book of John, it talks about how Enlil became jealous over how perfect man was, and then deliberately threw him into, that's what it says, threw him into a lower form of existence.
Wow.
They're talking about angels before becomes the fallen angels. I think Anunnaki are fallen angels. What do you think?
What happened to Nazi children after World War II? Some stayed loyal, others rejected everything, and one even found his father hiding decades later. First, Gudrun Himmler, daughter of SS Chief Heinrich Himmler, became one of the most devoted defenders of the Nazi legacy. She joined Still Hilfe, a secret network helping Nazi war criminals escape, attended their trials, and supported them until her death in 2018.
Wow.
Still convinced her father was a hero. Next, Nicholas Frank, son of Hans Frank, the butcher of Poland, went in the opposite direction. He openly condemned his father, carried his execution photo, and wrote books calling him a murderer. But the wildest story is Rolf Mengele. For 30 years he believed his father, Joseph Mengele, died in the war, until he learned he was alive in Brazil. Rolf confronted him in 1977, found him unrepentant, cut all ties, and kept his location secret until Mengele died in 1979.
Gosh.
Brazilians, who we are just now finding out also had a deep and rich culture of megalithic temples that were previously hiding from us under the thick forest of the Amazon. They had a visitor just like the others, the daughter of the sun, who came across the Atlantic on a, quote, boat with no oars.
What?
And they didn't mention a sail either. She is unique in one very fascinating detail. She left open a telephone line for us to still be able to speak with her and her people. She gave us a portal to go through. This portal she gave the Amazonians was actually quite simple. She taught them to boil two very specific plants together for an allotted time to create a brew, known to us today as, you guessed it, ayahuasca. Is it a coincidence that when we partake in this hallucinogen today, we encounter beings and visuals that closely match the cultures of ancient times? Perhaps that is exactly what we are encountering. Viracocha and the daughter of the sun are said to have been able to melt stone with incredible heat. The sites we find the most abundant amount of those smooth interlocking stone walls with no chisel marks are the very sites that these particular Promethean figures are native to. Whoa.
Fallen angels.
Reconquista, which is a poorly named event, the Reconquest. How can you reconquer something when you never owned it to begin with? So the idea is that the northern Christian kingdoms in the Iberian Peninsula are going to conquer from the Muslims the rest of the Iberian Peninsula, and then eventually Portugal and Spain are created out of that. And they called it the Reconquista as if they had owned it at one point. But they didn't. This is a different people now, because the population of people that the Arabs conquered when they conquered the Iberian Peninsula, it was German-ruled Iberia, Visigoths that were ruling it, and before them, the Vandals had ruled the south. That's where Andalusia comes from, because there's no va in Arabic. They just dropped the sound.
Thank you.
Absence of a father in any child's life leaves a child hurt, but ultimately develops a child as an angry kid.
These are some of the things that they will do. If children are suffering depression and dependency deprivation, they will become preoccupied with sex prematurely, and so therefore we get teenage pregnancy. They will not have the necessary emotional supports to tackle academic work, so we get school dropouts. A sufficient degree of depression. Somebody says, well, here, if you drink this, you won't feel so bad, little boy. Or if you take this drug, you won't feel so bad. You'll feel real cool. Do you see? And so that's the way I say that we get teenage pregnancy, we get school dropping out, and we get use of drugs. If you take large numbers of fathers out of a community and male children do not have fathers to model their behavior after and to lean against so that they gain strength and confidence in themselves as male.
You know, the blue-faced mother is 53 but 16 mentally. She has some trauma that needs help as well.
The King of England showered 3 times in 3 months.
Oh my
And that was a
God.
scandal. Everyone was like, this motherfucker.
He's using up the water.
He thinks he is something else.
Right.
Dude.
Oh my
No one
God.
showered. It was rare to change your clothes once a year.
Oh, God.
Well, that's what they
shower.
said about the Mongols, that their clothes, because there was animal
made out of, like,
skins.
rats
They were
and shit.
literally, rats.
Living
they
in
would
them?
literally rot off of them. Oh
my God.
Their
They were so
clothes
fucking
were
mad.
like rotting off of them. It was thought that water spread disease, so the less you bathed, the less vulnerable you were.
Which it probably did.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like pond water.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bring
So
back
they're
one of those
just
stir fires.
shitting into holes in the ground and
Yeah.
not
Oh.
washing their
The
assholes.
cities were just same water. Everyone throwing their shit out of their fucking window.
Dude, palaces like Henry's Hampton Court had to be constantly evacuated so they could be cleaned of the accumulated mounds of human waste.
No plumbing.
So he just kept shitting in all his different houses. He's the
Don't
original
show
shit
your
order.
Hey, the fact that you're alive today is a miracle to your ancestor.
You sign up for their program, you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife that never do an interview. Listen, in 20 years, won't do an interview. Nobody's ever talked to her, and that she's never been interviewed anywhere. And now, understand, I'm not talking about one person. What I just told you applies to 7 people. How they all end up with that. That's part of what you get.
Cat Williams tell the truth when it comes to shady house. The aura of this man is incredible.
Final words of Nazis before being executed. At number 1, Julius Streicher, a very prominent Nazi propagandist. His last words. Streicher shouted, "The Bolsheviks will hang you one day." As the noose was placed around his neck, he shouted, "Purim Fest 1946!" And finally, Heil Hitler, as he struggled, gasping for air. Number 2, Hermann Goering, one of the most prominent Nazi leaders and Hitler's designated successor. He stated that he would not facilitate the execution of Germany's Reichsmarshal by hanging. "I feel no more obligation to submit to my enemy's punishment. For this reason, I have chosen to die like the great Hannibal." Goering said, "Germany will be great again," before biting into a cyanide capsule.
Oh,
Number
gosh.
3, Joachim von Ribbentrop. Last words of the Nazi foreign minister, "God protect Germany. My last wish is that Germany recover her unity, and that, for the sake of peace, there should be understanding between East and West. I wish peace to the world."
Wow. Loyalty till death.
Oh, this is wild. We know that there are declassified U.S. government plans that have been in even mainstream news to project 300-yard-tall Buddha or Jesus or Muhammad.
They are so desperate to create fear amongst civilization.
Other intriguing thing, I mentioned the Piri-Reis map just now. Shown on the Piri-Reis map, lying off the east coast of North America, is a large island with a row of megaliths, like a road of megaliths, running up the middle of it. That island is in the exact place of the Grand Bahama Banks. And what you see running down the middle of it is this road-like feature of megaliths. And the Bimini Road is exactly where that island is.
There it is right there. So we don't know what those stones are or how they were created, but look at that. I mean, that looks so man-made.
And you can see that it's rather like the pattern that's shown on the island in the map.
How deep is that today?
Oh, it's not very deep. It's about 20 feet.
But we think that was above water at some point?
It was definitely above water during the last ice age. When it finally went underwater, it may have been as late as 8,000 or 9,000 years ago.
Magnificent. Then the Seeker.
Das Geschenk des deutschen Volkes zum Geburtstag Adolf Hitlers war ein einziges Bekenntnis der Treue zum Führer, des festen Willens zum Kampf und unbeugsamen Widerstand bis zum Sieg. In der Reichshauptstadt.
How strong the German used to be. Allies. By looking at this video, can say German forces were more professional than Allied?
Initially, they were trying to deport the Jewish population, but the United States and Great Britain were especially resistant to the idea. Americans were polled. 67% of Americans said they feared that the Jews would come to the United States and they were actually secretly spies for the Germans and they would do acts of terrorism. And they didn't want that Jewish population coming to the United States. It was to the point where we literally turned around Jewish refugees and sent them back to Europe to die. So after multiple attempts to export the Jewish population, the Nazis decided, all right, we're just going to kill them all.
Hitler thought the answer to Britain's problems in India was to simply kill Gandhi. As in 1937, he told a British officer that they should just shoot Gandhi. And if this doesn't reduce them into submission, shoot a dozen leading members of their Congress. And if that doesn't suffice, shoot 200 more, and so on and so forth. As always, for Hitler, the answer was murder.
Have you ever
Basically, how most colonialists solve rebels' problems.
seen this salute? No, it's not the Nazi salute. It's the Bellamy salute. It started in the 1890s, and it's what millions of Americans used to do when reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. For decades, Americans raised their right arm towards the flag, but in the 1920s and 30s, when Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy adopted a similar salute, the United States officially replaced it in 1942 with the hand-over-heart gesture that we use today. So should we reclaim our American heritage and bring back the Bellamy salute, or should we leave it in the past?
Oh, the Romans did it first.
Solomon's temple. There's a story within the Talmud, and it talks about Solomon used this ancient technology to build a temple called the Shamir. This is weird. Preface, the Talmud is not recognized within Christianity. Historians do. But this Shamir, some speculate it's a worm. It is this green ray, a living creature whose gaze carves rock. Whoa! The Talmud talks about the story that God basically told Solomon, you're not allowed to use iron tools on the temple because these iron tools are also used in warfare.
Yeah.
This is Talmud, not the scripture. And then he was told the shamir was given to Ashmadiah, the king of demons.
Medea?
Or Ashmadiah, I think. Solomon's best warriors forced him to say where the shamir is.
Wow.
And that's when they used the shamir to build the temple.
Seems worse than iron.
And this is where it gets crazy. They believe that the shamir was created before Adam and Eve.
So it was a tool being used by these demonic creatures.
Yeah, and
Got
we've
it.
talked about before all these ancient ruins, like in Peru and stuff. These rocks fit perfectly. Nothing could contain this shamir except a lead box because it's the only thing that can contain radioactive material.
Weird.
And then after the temple was built, somehow the shamir just disappeared.
Well, it's still out there.
Interesting. What if they won the war?
The Japanese just yelling at us, banzai, banzai, and they swing and cut heads off, blowing heads off. They were experts on destroying your nerves.
Wow.
This man was the son of one of history's most feared dictators. His name is Yakov Djugashvili, the firstborn son of Joseph Stalin. And as you can imagine, there was nothing good waiting for him on Earth. Not only did Stalin kill more than 30 million people, he also managed to be one of the worst parents you've ever heard of. Stalin never really seemed to care about his son and frequently neglected him. Yakov grew up with severe depression throughout his entire childhood. It became so bad that he even tried to kill himself by shooting himself in the head. Somehow he survived, but when his father heard about it, Stalin's only comment was, "He can't even shoot straight." Later in life, Yakov was captured by the Nazis and became a prisoner of war. Hitler offered Stalin a negotiation, asking him to return a captured German marshal in exchange for his lieutenant's son. But Stalin refused, saying he would never exchange a marshal for a lieutenant. Yakov died in the concentration camp soon after, while Stalin didn't even shed a tear for him.
Is it a historical truth? Oh, does he look like Robert De Niro? Reinhardt. Heydrich.
The rock of Golgotha, right where Jesus was crucified, there is a cave. In this cave, explorer Ron Wyatt claims to have found the real Ark of the Covenant. What's so incredible about this discovery is that exactly where the Ark was placed, there was a crack leading up to the spot where Jesus was crucified. Not only that, but there was a red trail of dried blood leading from the crucifixion site down onto the Ark, which is thought to be the real blood of Jesus.
We put an amount of this blood in some normal saline and at body temperature, and we swirled this gently for 72 hours. When we put this in a growth medium, the white blood cells were dividing. We were able to get a chromosome count. There were 24 chromosomes. 23 Christ got from Mary. He got one, which was the sex determinant, or the Y. from his heavenly Father for a total of 24. All of us have 46. We get 23 from our mother and 23 from our father. Now, this blood, folks, was still alive after almost 2,000 years. The people that did the test thought I had pulled a fast one of some kind on them. Never in their lives have they ever seen any dried blood that was still alive.
Christ is alive, and anyone that wishes to reject that thought, I pray you find him and save your soul.
You're not telling us the truth. The Rothschild family actually own Antarctica, and this was leaked by a Russian hacker. He leaked several documents from the Pentagon, and it says that no one is allowed to visit Antarctica except if the Rothschild family allowed it, after he leaked that he was never seen again.
I don't think Joe Rogan said that. AI.
Looks like it's about 3 feet deep.
Okay.
First thoughts.
First thoughts? We are magic.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
You. What's
They look new.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yes, it's real, folks. It's real. Real fake.